Chapter 3. Bright morning glare slashed a paper cut across my eyes. The rest of me wasn't so hot either. I got up with every cliche of pain I could think of, groaned with every breath, lit a cigarette and smoked, made black coffee and drank. Opposite my window, the dentist on the second floor in the facing building dug into his patient's mouth with a glinting silver probe. I drained the sugary residue from my cup of black coffee and shuddered. It was 10 a.m. Friday. I needed milk. The first step involved leaving the apartment. Trickier than it sounds. I still had a dress and my range of motion was severely limited. I was pain-dazzled putting on my blue jeans. Unable to face buttons or laces, I wormed my body into an extra-large sweatshirt and my bare feet into soft brown leather brogues. A pair of sunglasses and I was off. Out the street door I went left, the way I had last night, turning onto East 12th. People seemed to zoom by me as I shuffled along. An Asian woman wearing silver spandex and lime green rollerblades. Two men with briefcases sharing a cell phone. A Caribbean nanny pushing two blonde, blue-eyed children in a twin-seat stroller. A pensioner struggling with groceries. Each could have lapped me twice around the block. It gave me time to think. When I reached the deli on 3rd Avenue, I walked in and went over to the milk cooler. This time I only got a quart, issuing small arms. The Hindu clerk looked up from pricing vitamins at the counter and his eyes widened. I was no pretty picture, but since he didn't know me, he didn't say anything, only rang up my milk and bagged it. If he wasn't going to ask, I guess I'd have to tell him, so as conversationally as I could, I related what had happened. Watering it down to a mugging and giving a description of the four involved, the girl and the three stooges, one named Stosh. Seen anyone around like that? Silently, he shook his head no, which was a lie of sorts. There was a young skinhead studying the Hostess Twinkies rack behind me who could have been any one of the three, same build and kick-ass demeanor, only he wasn't. What the clerk really meant was it wasn't any of his business. It was going to be like that everywhere I went. I thanked him, but he just stared. I'd have to come back and ask the night man. Poke into every hollow, my old boss Matt Chedinsky used to say. I stepped outside and turned left, walking to the corner of East 11th. The three stooges hadn't grabbed the girl at random. They knew her and had been waiting for her to pass by. Where has she been coming from? Across the two-way traffic of 3rd Avenue, the northwest corner housed a 7-level movieplex, and the southwest, a sushi bar. On my side, the opposite corner was a stationery store, and the corner I stood on, the NYU off-campus dorm. A lot of activity outside it this morning, families retrieving graduating seniors. Vans, station wagons, and U-Haul trucks were double parked along the street. Two women, mother and daughter, carried a microwave oven between them. A young man in shorts hefted a milk crate packed with textbooks into the trunk of a BMW. The girl last night had looked too young to be in college, I thought, or maybe I was simply too old to differentiate any longer. But before she'd taken my watch, I'd touched her hands, calloused and sticky, not the hands of a student living in a comfortable dormitory, more like the hands of a street kid, used to hugging pavement and entreating spare change. Still, a possibility though, but pointless to go to the front desk and ask. Looking as I did, I'd have security on me in a flash. I continued down 11th, back in the direction of 2nd Avenue, passing 4 ornamental pear trees, blossoming with white flowers like popcorn balls I hadn't noticed the night before. I was doing all I could do, going back over the ground, retracing my steps, looking without knowing what I was looking for. Anything that might lead me to the girl. But she'd be hiding now, since others were looking too, others who had a distinct advantage. They knew where to look. My only edge was the girl didn't know I was after her. That lot of good it did me too. In the bright of day, the shadowy places illuminated, all the distances seemed shorter. The cars parked along the street were still bumper to bumper. I stopped where I'd first noticed her, coming out from behind an elm tree, oddly leafless that late in spring. I looked around the tree trunk and by the curb for anything she might have dropped, but there was nothing round but the broken glass of green and brown beer bottles. I shuffled farther along, fixing my eyes before my feet, scanning the cracked and buckled concrete. Mended in spots, names etched in the hardened cement, a child's handprint, a smile face. Clues literally littered the ground. A matchbook with a penciled phone number, a lost car key case, an inside-out purse, a lipstick-smeared Newport cigarette butt, a hair scrunchie with snag strands of blonde extensions. Nothing recent though, all weather-worn and gritty. It was impossible to miss the spot I got stomped, marked by my own blood, dried dark brown and queerly enameled. I tried not to look at it, but the congealed smear had a magnetic pull, blood calling to blood. I thought I was supposed to be desensitized to gore by movies and nightly news, but I still felt the earth slip skipping over a worn-down cog in its gradual spinning. I forced myself to concentrate on the surrounding ground, but still didn't find anything useful. One last place to check. I crossed to the semi-basement entryway. I glanced up and down the street before I went down. Across the street at the rear gate of St. Mark's Churchyard, a red-headed Hispanic woman was leading a flock of first graders by a tow rope with dozens of little handles. I descended. The sub-ground patio was cluttered with trash, soda cups, yellowed newspapers, a half-dozen used condoms, dried up like the shed skin of snakes. Under the iron staircase, the puddle of milk was a solid curdle. I tried not to step into it or on the confusion of white boot prints as I looked the area over. The sour smell was oppressive and reminded me of my junior high cafeteria and drinking lukewarm half-pints. I didn't find a damn thing. I didn't expect to, but you hope. As I started back up the crumbling steps to the sidewalk, the hopelessness sank in. I didn't have anything. The church clock began to sound the hour, 11, tolling to me that I should have known, should have known, should have known. On the way home, I walked by the Jeep 4x4 the girl had crawled out from under. It was still parked in the same spot. Then I stopped, took a step back, poke into every hollow. Bracing myself by the door handle, I knelt beside it and eyed the refuse along the curb in front of the 4x4. We're all in the gutter, I thought, but some of us are looking at the swollen cigarette ends, wadded pizza parlor napkins, and a discarded toothless comb. I stooped even lower and looked underneath. I saw something small and black about a foot in beneath the Jeep. I had to lie flat on my bruised ribs and endure shock waves of pain to reach it. A small rectangular object that fit in the snug in the palm of my hand. I looked at it. A cheap knockoff pager, its face scraped, the service provider name scratched out with a pin. On the back of it, an empty slot where a missing belt clip slid in. It could have easily come apart when the girl crawled out. I looked at the liquid crystal display on top, a thin digital readout. The beeper was still switched on. It hadn't been there long enough for the batteries to run down. I pushed a small red button on the front and the screen displayed the last number received, the number before that, and two more stored in the beeper's memory. I kissed the damn thing. When I got back to my office, the answering machine flashed a 10th message. I still hadn't checked the first 9. After I put away the milk, I sat down and pushed play, listening to them as I copied down the numbers stored inside the beeper. Half a dozen messages began cordially enough. Mr. Peyton Sherwood, you have until midnight tonight to contact Citibank Visa regarding a vital matter, followed by an 800 number, each received on a different day. 2 messages were from my mom thanking me for the cash pot of geraniums I'd sent her for Mother's Day. 1 message was from Matt Chudinsky, part owner of Metro Security and Surveillance Inc., where I'd served a 5-year apprenticeship before striking out on my own. Striking out was right. Hey, Pay, got some work for you this weekend if you aren't too swamped. He laughed. We need an extra man at a wedding reception out on Long Island to blend in with the guests, keep an eye on the gifts, and keep out the gate crashers. You get to wear a tux. Nice fee, little work, free food, maybe even pick up a bridesmaid. Call me. Swell. And me looking like squashed pigeon. The last message was from Tigger. Hey, you there? Pick up. I knocked, but no answer. You okay? Hello? It's 10:30. I'll be up for another hour. Don't make me call fire and rescue. I called her back first. Woke her. Cranky. Didn't you hear me kick in the door? She slurred. I had to go out. How you feeling today? Like $1,000,000 in small, crumpled bills. She giggled, murmuring more comfortably. But you're alive. I'll let you know. What time do you go to work? We've got a 7 o'clock call. I'll be in at 6:30. Can I pick your brain later over coffee? Brain and brain. What is brain? Huh? Nothing, she yawned. Ez dumped some Star Trek samples into his mix last night. Spock's brain is missing. I can't get them out of my head. I'll give you the Vulcan mind meld later. Round 4? I'll call you after 5. Good night. Good morning. I heard her stretch and moan sleepily as she fumbled the receiver back into its cradle. I hung up, then rang Metro Security and Surveillance and asked the receptionist, a new man whose voice I didn't recognize, for Matt Chedinsky. What name, sir? Nando Schmacki. Please hold, Mr. Schmacki. A few bars of Isn't She Lovely later. Nando Schmacki, Matt said. Where'd you come up with that? It was the court reporter's name in Syracuse. You're shitting me. How'd that go? We lost. Motherhood prevailed. Can't beat that. So, Pay, about this wedding, I need you to, what do you mean, You're not passing on this. You must be shitting me. I assured him I wasn't. Told him what had happened. How I now looked. Are you shitting me? Matt, I really wish I was. Damn, he said. I was counting on you. Not the best time to ask for a favor, but I plowed on. Give me the addresses on some local numbers, I asked. Can't be in that bad a shape working something. He still didn't half believe me, I thought. Thought I was just blowing off the security work because it was beneath me. A notion he'd gotten into his head when I quit. I gave him the rest about finding the beeper and my hopes of tracing the girl through it and getting my watch back. Issuing a no comment on my dubious motives, Matt chewed it over professionally. Too bad no services name. Probably some cheap outfit you could have got her name out of. Doubt she even has an address. Sounds street. Yeah, so can you help? He groaned, shuffled papers in front of the phone. Give me the numbers. I'll bill you on a sliding scale. Good luck sliding that far. You'll hurt yourself. Gene never forgive me. I read him the 4 phone numbers. He said he'd fax me the results. Thanks. What you gonna do with them once you get them? I totally misunderstood him for a second. Thought he meant the 3 guys who beat me. Flash pictures of scouring their white faces against stucco pleased me until I realized Matt was talking about the addresses. Well, I figure if other people are looking for her, I can contact them, and I trailed off. That was about as far as I'd gotten. And what, Pay? Form a club? You watch too much fucking TV. Give me an hour. He hung up. I sat there, not knowing for a couple of minutes I was staring down at the phone. I probably should have cut my losses. My gold Rolex was long gone anyhow, most likely traded for drugs or the money to buy drugs. By the light of day, I didn't even blame the girl for taking it, me lying there such easy pickings. And as for the 3 gentlemen, well, karma could sort them out. But I knew I wouldn't leave it alone. Couldn't drop it. Hell, I was still daydreaming about a woman I hadn't seen in 5 years. A year longer than we're even together. I tried again to read a name off the scratched face of the beeper, tilting it back and forth under this desk lamp to catch the glare, when it suddenly came alive in my hand, twitching and squirming like a fidgety black beetle. I dropped it. It landed on a pile of my unpaid credit card bills, a past due notice for my last Oxford Health premium, and a cutoff warning from Time Warner Cable. It slid a little, quivering, shifting my mound of debt. Purred like an electric razor. The beeper was set for vibrate. A call was coming in. I picked it up again. On this thin screen, a 7-digit number appeared, not one of the ones I'd given to Matt. Without thinking, phone already to my ear, I dialed the number. Too late once the connection was made. It picked up on the second ring. A woman's nasally voice sweetly answered, Lower East Side Veterinary Hospital. Hi, returning your page. Um, she'd paged a woman and a man answered. It confused her. In the background, a dog yiped, yiped, yiped. She said, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get someone else. Yeah, she's busy right now. Asked me to check. Gloria Manlow? Right. Is it about her dog, I asked? Just a guess, but what other kind of pet would a street kid have? A cat? A turtle? A marmoset? Yes, the woman said. Ms. Manlow told us she'd pick him up this morning at 10. Is she on her way? I don't know. Well, please tell her if she doesn't pick up Pike by noon, we'll have to charge her another day's board. On top of the other 3 days already, the balance she currently owes on his surgery, her voice got trebly. How's Pike doing? I asked, more to keep the conversation flowing. He's healing well. He'd be a lot better if she came and got him. Tell her if it's because of her bill, we can work out a payment plan, but she really must. How much does she owe? $365. $385 if she doesn't come this morning. We can only board him for a week. It's been 3 days now. Then what happens? We turn him over to the SPCA. I'll let her know, I said. How long's she been bringing Pike to you? It has nothing with her being a new client. Anyone, if we can't contact the owner at a certain time. I mean, we're not a kennel. I said, I'm sure it's not something you want to do. It's great that these kids adopt these pound strays, but I mean, please, they're strays themselves, can barely support themselves. What kind of a surgery was it? He'd been stabbed with a broken bottle. Some of his leg muscles had to be reattached. I thought you were a friend of hers. I've been out of town. I didn't push my luck. I just thanked her and said I'd pass on the message. After I hung up, I caught myself staring at the phone again. I was becoming a champion phone starer. I got out the white pages and looked up the animal hospital in the business listings and wrote down the address, 76 East 3rd Street. I pushed back my chair and started to rise, but only got half an inch before pain rooted me back to the spot. Too long in one place, my body had stiffened, raw muscles issuing severe warnings, commands really, against any movement at all. Well, fuck that. Breathless, I hugged my ribs and crouched forward, resting my head on the desk. I braced my hands and eased weight onto my legs. Crooked as with osteoporosis, I got myself out of the chair and onto my feet. Pain seized me again as I took a step forward, blinding me with TV snow as I fought back a lightness like falling. When it finally cleared, I was still on my feet. Progress, I urged, and took another painful step. Well on my way.